The Jets have a chance to improve their record to 6-2 on Sunday with a victory against the hated New England Patriots. What do the Jets need to do to emerge victorious? That's what we'll discuss today on the Locked On Jets podcast.
You are Locked On Jets, your daily New York Jets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. This is the Locked On Jets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's Friday, October 28th, 2022, and I'm your host, John B. from GangGreenNation.com, thanking you for making the show your first listen or first watch every day. This podcast is free, and it's available on all platforms, including YouTube. If you like what you see or hear, hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening. You'll never miss an episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give this episode a big thumbs up. Helps the channel out, and it helps other Jets fans find the podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Jets is sponsored by SimpliSafe Home Security. With Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe, 24/7 monitoring agents capture evidence to accurately verify a threat for faster police response. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Visit simplisafe.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more. And the Jets are at home on Sunday for a game against the New England Patriots. It's amazing to say it. The Jets could be 6-2 by the end of Sunday. Who would have ever thought it? Of course, to win, of course, to get to that record, though, they do need to beat their bitter rival coming in from New England. BetOnline.ag has New England favored by 2.5 points, and I'm saying the same thing I've been saying the last couple of weeks. It's almost like people just don't want to get off their preconceived notions of these teams that they had before the beginning of the season. I understand it. I thought the Jets were, ideally a 7-win team. I thought 7 wins was their ceiling, realistically, before the beginning of the season. But the way they've played, and I understand, you go back to the issues people have where the Jets have beaten a lot of backup quarterbacks. They've gotten their fair share of luck, close games. The ball has generally bounced their way. I don't know if the Patriots are as bad as their record has been, but they don't look great right now. I think at home, I could actually understand it a little bit if the Jets were going up to Foxborough to play New England. I don't know how you look at these two teams, the way that they're playing, the way that they've performed this year, and say that the Patriots should be favored by 2.5 points at home, on the road. Now, the Jets are obviously going to be without some key players in this game. Breece Hall's out for the season. Elijah Vera Tucker's out for the season. Corey Davis looking kind of iffy for this game. So, the Jets could be without their top running back, their top offensive lineman, and conceivably their top wide receiver. So maybe that factors into things. But this is not a vintage New England team. I don't know if this team's as bad as their record is right now, but they're not playing very well. And one thing I will say is that this is not a vintage New England Patriots team. This is not the team of Tom Brady. It's not the team that won all those Super Bowls. It's not the vintage of one of those teams. The Patriots had a very long run of success in this league. The Patriots certainly seem like a dynasty that's over. They seem like, I'd say maybe something like the ruins of an ancient society. Now, that doesn't mean the Jets are guaranteed to win this game. I think the Jets should be favored. I think this is a game the Jets should win. And, along the way, if we're going to have a season where the Jets make the playoffs, these are the types of games a mature team wins. And we know the Jets are kind of an interesting team because overall, they're not super young, but they're impact players. The guys who carry the load, they are quite young. So and through the season, the Jets have played like a team beyond their years. And perhaps this is a testament to what the Jets did in the offseason where they brought in a lot of veterans to perhaps help with leadership. Because this is not a team that's looked immature so far this year. And last year, I kind of wondered, the Jets kept getting off to bad starts, especially early in games, early in the season. And I wondered whether that was a case where, and that was a season last year where the Jets were the youngest team in the NFL. And I wondered whether they maybe needed a little bit more veteran leadership on the team to kind of help the young players settle into games. It's difficult to say, but Jets have played like a mature team this year. Now, this is a game, frankly, I think the Jets should win. If you're at home, you're up against the Patriots team that's not the vintage Patriots. These are not the Brady Patriots. they're a team with issues on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, we did not even know until a couple days ago who the starting quarterback was going to be for the Patriots in this game. That's not a team that's firing on all cylinders. Meanwhile, the Jets are playing great. And the Jets have a chance, if they win this game, to have a huge game a week from now against Buffalo. I mean, can you imagine the Jets at 6-2 hosting the Buffalo Bills with first place in the AFC East on the first, not just first place in the AFC East, first place in the conference, first place in the entire AFC could be on the line next week if the Jets take care of business against the New England Patriots. But it's what they have to do. And all these things that I'm saying, I do think the Jets should win this game. There's no guarantees though. And you see it every week in the NFL. There are surprises every single week in the NFL, bigger surprises than New England beating the Jets would be, obviously, because New England's favored in this game. So the Jets can't just show up, and there might be a little bit of a tendency to look past the Patriots. They haven't been looking that great, and it's weird to say the Patriots could be a trap game, but the Patriots actually could be a trap game for the Jets because you have all these elements. The Patriots aren't looking that good. Short week, they just played Monday night. It's always tough to go on the road after a Monday night game, and the Jets have this potential huge game against Buffalo coming up. Did you ever think, heck, before the start of the season or at all, that the New England Patriots could be a trap game for the New York Jets? Well, that's something the Jets are going to need to avoid. And again, this is going to require the team to show maturity. It's going to require the Jets to take this seriously. Again, the Jets have a couple of advantages. I do think the Monday night thing, a road game after a Monday night contest, that's tough to do, and that's what New England has to do in this game. And as I said to Mike Debate when we spoke yesterday, Mike is the great host of Locked On Patriots. Always love doing crossover shows with him. I said it yesterday, though. I think the crowd could be a big factor in this game, and it's always difficult to say in the NFL how big of a role the crowd plays. Typically, when the crowd's it's most effective, it's messing with the visiting team's snap count. But there was a game in 2009 the Jets and the Patriots played, and it was Rex Ryan's first home game as Jets head coach. It wasn't just the snap counts. The crowd was in the Patriots' heads in that game. And Robert Saleh has kind of been invoking that game this week. He's talked about how he wants the fans to be in their seats. He talked about how there was a large percentage of Jets fans who missed Sauce Gardner's safety against Miami because they weren't in their seat by kickoff time. And I feel like, when you've struggled for as long as the Jets have, the first time you're back, the first game when it really feels like you're back, and even that first season where it really feels like you're back, you have fans who were kind of apathetic, who maybe I refer to them as lapsed fans, who are now returning to the team, who are now excited to finally, after all these years, finally excited to watch some Jets football. So I don't think there's anything quite like it in sports when a team that's been bad for a long time is finally good and their fans get up for a big game. I think this crowd could actually have a big impact in this game. And I usually kind of roll my eyes when people say that because home field can be an advantage, especially, again, if you're forcing the other team to go to the silent count. But this could be like the rare game where I actually do think home field could be a big advantage for the Jets if the fans show up and do what they need to do. But, of course, it's going to be determined by what happens on the field. And as we talk about this game here on the Locked On Jets podcast, we're going to talk about what the Jets will need to do when they have the ball. That's as we continue this Friday game preview. The Jets are going to need their offense to have a good day on Sunday if they want to come away with a victory, but this defense also needs to keep playing top-notch football. And let me give you a sports analogy. When it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense you can muster. You need your own version of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. And that's why you should trust SimpliSafe Home Security. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. It's cutting-edge technology powered 24/7 by professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you always know your home is safe. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Customize the perfect system in your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Thank you for making Locked On Jets your first listen or first watch every day. This podcast is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Jets Patriots kickoff time scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Biggest Jets home game in a long time. And if we're not counting like opening days or games in September, this is as big as it's been since probably 2015. Jets have a chance to go to 6-2, solidify their spot atop the AFC, and set up an absolute showdown next weekend against the Buffalo Bills. But to do that, they have to beat the Patriots. And the Jets are going to be shorthanded on offense. It's going to be difficult because they're not going to have Breece Hall, who's out for the year. They're not going to have Elijah Vera Tucker, who's out for the year. And they may be without Corey Davis. So that's right there, your best offensive player, Breece Hall, who's obviously your best back. You also have your best offensive lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker. And you may be without your best wide receiver. So Jets have their work cut out for them. There's one matchup, I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. Cedric Ogbuehi versus Matthew Judon. This is almost the formula I laid out a couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh, and that was before we realized Vera Tucker was moving to tackle, and it felt like the Jets were going to have to start Connor McDermott at left tackle. And I brought up the idea that the Jets were pretty much going to have to use a tight end essentially to be a second tackle. Essentially, the tight ends were just going to have to help the tackles out all game. And that could happen with the Jets. And it's not like the Jets tight ends are contributing a ton in the passing game. It's not like taking them out of routes is really going to change a whole lot. But I think to contain Judon, to help Ogbuehi out, Jets are really going to need to focus their game plan on making sure he's obstructed, that you're not leaving one-on-one matchups for Judon in this game, because he is going to have a big game if Jets can't block up front. So I think there's going to have to be extra protection. I just think that's what the Jets are going to have to do. That's the Jets' version of SimpliSafe, I guess. They need extra protection. They need to help Ogbuehi out. And, there's been all this talk, is James Robinson going to replace Breece Hall? Well, no, he's not. You're not going to replace Breece Hall just with one person. It's unrealistic, I think, to believe that Breece Hall can be replaced by a single back. Because, quite frankly, if there was another back like Breece Hall in the NFL, and there are some great backs, there probably are some backs who are comparable in ability, comparable in skill set, but the thing about these backs, they're not available. You can't get them. If anybody has, would you trade Breece Hall? No. Well, other teams that have maybe something similar to Breece Hall, they aren't going to trade them to the Jets. Jets got a quality back in James Robinson, but he's not a replacement for Breece Hall. What he can do is help fill the gap, though. The Jets need a lot of people to step up. And it's not going to be all done through the run game. I don't think the Jets are going to be able to dominate running the ball the way they've done the last couple of weeks without Hall in the lineup. So Jets need to get more out of their passing game. And I'm using the phrase passing game for a very specific reason, because Zach Wilson's play has been a hot topic of discussion, but the entire passing game is struggling right now. And part of that's Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's not playing great football right now. But the offensive line, we talked about one of the holes that's there. The offensive line is going to have to step up in this game. The receivers, the last couple of weeks, the receivers have been kind of non-existent. And Corey Davis may not even be in the lineup for this one. So the Jets are really going to have to dig deep. You would presume you'll get a lot of Braxton Berrios in there, maybe some more Denzel Mims, maybe some more Jeff Smith like we had last week. But yeah, Jets are really going to need to dig deep. And I think a guy who's going to be a key player in this game, and it's easy guy to talk about. It's an easy guy to point to because he's been in the headlines the last 2 weeks, but Elijah Moore. This might be the Elijah Moore game. This might be the game the Jets really need Elijah Moore to come through. And part of it is I think the Jets should do a better job manufacturing touches for Elijah Moore. I'd like to see them involved more in the screen game, because Braxton Berrios is doing well on end arounds. He's doing well when he's getting the ball with a full head of steam in front of him, but he's not doing well in the screen game where he's not where in situations where he's catching the ball kind of stopped and then needs to start. It feels like Berrios doesn't have great acceleration. It feels like once he gets to top speed, he's very fast, but I'm not sure he has got great acceleration. Maybe it takes a little while for him to get up speed. So, in a situation where there's an end around, he's already at full speed when he got the ball, and he's tough to bring down. I'm not sure he's quite as effective when he has to kind of start as he does when he catches a screen. So maybe that's where you work Elijah Moore in. And the Jets need to find out easy things to do that can make this offense work. That's one of them. But I think Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore, this connection's been inconsistent really for the better part of 2 years. It just doesn't seem like there's great chemistry between the two of them. And it's time to figure that out because, with Corey Davis down, there are going to be a lot of touches, a lot of targets going Elijah Moore's way. He wanted it. He may get him on Sunday. That's the way it works. And I know I've seen some fans say, well, now you're giving into more. Well, you're not giving into more. You're putting together the best game plan for your football team. It's irrelevant what Elijah Moore wants. What's relevant is this the best game plan for the Jets to win? And I think the answer to that is clearly yes. So I think Elijah Moore is going to have to step up. He's going to have to play a big role in this game if the Jets are to beat the New England Patriots. But of course, there's another side of the ball. It's the side of the ball that's been the strength for the Jets over the last month during this winning streak. The defense. What does the defense need to do against Mac Jones and company for the Jets to pull out a fifth straight win? We'll talk about that as we continue this Friday game preview here on Locked On Jets. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. It can be tough to train your brain to stay in problem-solving mode when faced with a challenge in life. But when you learn how to find your own solutions, there's no better feeling. There are many different ways you can do it, and it's really important to take care of your mental health. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. It can be tough to train your brain to stay in problem-solving mode when faced with a challenge in life. But when you learn how to find your own solutions, there's no better feeling. There are many different ways you can take care of your mental health, and it's really important that you do so. You can try meditation, you can try talking to a friend, but a therapist can also help you become a better problem solver, making it easier to accomplish your goals no matter how big or small. And if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey, and switch therapists anytime. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNFL today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/LockedOnNFL. This is the Locked On Jets podcast here on this Friday. We're previewing Jets Patriots. New England somehow a favorite. Jets the better team so far this year. And I'm going to say this again. Just because I'm saying the Jets should be favored does not mean they're guaranteed to win this game. And this is going to be a test for the Jets to see whether they can handle prosperity. And so far, they've handled it pretty well. But each week is a new test. One thing the Jets need to do, they need to keep playing great defense. And you know the key players. I mean, it's Quinnen Williams, it's Sauce Gardner, to a lesser extent, it's DJ Reed. And, the last couple of weeks, Jets have gotten decent play out of their linebackers and safeties. These guys are not weaknesses. They're not the driving force behind a good defense. And that was one of the issues last year with the Jets. The Jets were pretty much leaning on C.J. Mosley being their best player. C.J. Mosley, at this point of his career, maybe that was different a few years ago. Maybe it was different in Baltimore. At this point of his career, C.J. Mosley is not the guy who should be the best player on your defense. And if he's your best player, you're going to be in trouble. But if C.J. Mosley's down the line, if your linebacker group is with C.J. Mosley is the third best position group on your defense, then you're in decent shape. And that's kind of where you're at. I think Quincy Williams has really stepped up the last couple of weeks. But the Jets, it's tough to look at individual matchups. The Jets just need to keep doing what they're doing. This New England offense, it just does not strike me at this point in time, at least, as a big play passing attack, which is kind of crazy to say about New England because you always think of New England as a big play passing attack. But I don't think that they can. I think they're going to have a tough time challenging this Jets defense through the air. And, we talk about how everybody needs to step up in Breece Hall's absence. It's going to be difficult for the defense to stand up even taller than it's already been standing, but they made a key play last week. After Hall's injury, after Breece left the game, they had a big interception that led to a field goal in the second half. And when your offense is struggling, sometimes your defense needs to take the wheel a little bit. Sometimes you need your defense to make a turnover, make a game-changing play. You'd love to see your defense score, but even if they don't score, if they can set you up in a short field, they can give you an opportunity to get some points, make life easy on the offense. That's something you're looking for. It's something the Jets probably need right now because this offense, it's a work in progress, and this has clearly been a defense-driven winning streak more than the offense. I mean, the offense has had its moments. A lot of those moments, however, have come from Breece Hall. So Jets defense needs to keep doing what it's doing, and at this point, the defense is playing so well that individual matchups almost fail. It's almost kind of difficult to point to any individual matchup because the Jets have been doing such a good job winning all of their matchups. So we'll see what happens there. I've got confidence in this defense, and this is the first time I can remember where I'm saying, something, if the Jets play their A game and the Patriots play their A game, I think the Jets win. Now, if the Jets look past New England, they could very well lose this game. But I really feel like if these two teams at this point And this, that could change. Any prognostication is only a week away from changing, because NFL is a league where things move quickly and narratives change through the course of the season. But right now, and I can't remember the last time I said this for a Jets Patriots game. Both teams play their A game. I think the Jets are going to win, and the Jets can get to 6-2. Anyway, that's all for today's episode. This has been the Locked On Jets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day is our motto. As always, if you enjoy the show, hit the subscribe button where you're watching or listening. You'll never miss an episode. Please give the show a 5-star review if you're listening on a podcast source, or a big thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the game. We'll be back after it to talk about what happened.